So I don't think I've ever tried to film a video with a script before, so this feels really weird and unnatural for me. At the time I was writing it, I needed to charge my camera battery, so I figured I would maybe try and make use of my time and, I don't know, try and at least have a little bit of structure or game plan to what I want to say before I say it. I don't know. So if at any point I'm looking away from you guys, it's because I'm reading a script. There is even a possibility that I might end up veering away from it. Yeah, I don't know. This is new and different, and I can feel myself drifting and yapping off topic already, so maybe the script was a good idea. I've been away from the internet, or like more specifically social media, for like the last 2 years. Maybe it's been a bit longer. I still have accounts on all of the big names: Facebook, Twitter. I'm still refusing to call it X, and Instagram. I used to lose like hours to just sitting and scrolling like mindlessly. When I uninstalled them from my devices, I couldn't get over how much more free time I had, and was made aware of how much time I was spending just doing this. Like I say, I've still got them active, and that's mainly for me booking tattoo appointments, because one of the artists that I use only takes bookings through them, so that's really the only time I ever log into my Instagram account. It's because I'm booking a tattoo. Or when one of my friends who has a particularly unhinged, a lot of reels come up on her feed, she sends me the best ones. Having been away from the social media apps for the time that I have has had like a massive impact on my mental health. I'm far more engaged with the hobbies that I participate in, because I've got so much more time to do them now that I'm not just giving into a reflex. And since ditching social media, I've even picked up some hobbies where I'm spending like 6 hours a week doing them, because I'm not frittering my time away behind a screen, which is not something that I thought I would be saying. When I say that I've come away from social media, that isn't strictly true, because I am still using some websites. I'm pretty active on Tumblr at the moment. I use Reddit. I'm active on Pinterest. But I feel like the way that I engage with those specific apps is very different to how I was using like the big guns: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And I think largely that's because I'm no longer at the mercy of my nemesis, the nemesis being the endless scroll. And that's not to say that those features don't exist on those other apps, but how I interact with them is very different. I really love that Tumblr still allows you to use the old style dashboard, and if you want to dip into using a bottomless feed of stuff you might like, you can do that, but it's not something that I really engage with. I like my old style dashboard where it's chronological order and everything runs and flows in a timeline. I get to a point where I'm like, I've seen everything that has been posted on my health site, and now it's time to log off and go and touch grass. I don't want it to sound like I'm taking some kind of moral high ground when I talk about having come off of social media. I don't think I'm any better than anybody else who chooses to use it. It's just that I know now that it's not good for me. If you're somebody that's able to use social media in a way that is healthy for you and it makes you feel good, and you're able to engage in it in a way that isn't detrimental to your mental health, I love that for you. I mean that with all genuineness. That's great. That's fantastic. It doesn't work like that for me, and I kind of have to take a little bit of accountability for like my own brain health. In addition to that, I was also really sick to the back teeth of being advertised to all the time. I am sick of it. Like, it's only getting worse, and by cutting that advertising space out of my, I don't know, like general day-to-day life, that is better for me. I think one of the other benefits of me coming off of social media and therefore not being exposed to advertising as much is I spend so much less money. My bank balance is very, very happy for that. I don't tend to make impulsive online purchases anymore. Like, I couldn't tell you the last time I bought something because it was advertised to me on a website that I didn't go onto that website to order. And I love that for me. As I've already said, I think advertising is getting more and more prolific. We're seeing more of it everywhere. There was a post that I saw recently that was like, this isn't the internet anymore. This is ads. You are on ads. And yeah, it does. That makes sense. I think with any kind of media consumption that you have, advertising is embedded into that. It is inescapable at this point. You can't walk down the street without being advertised to you. You open your phone, you're being advertised to. You go on a website, you're being advertised to. And it's only getting worse. So being able to minimize that is good for me. I think another large part of me wanting to get away from being online is the desire to not be perceived. When I withdrew from social media and having like an internet presence, I was probably at the lowest my mental health had been at for a while. All I wanted to do is disappear into the void because I was so put off and icked out by how I'd documented my existence online. I was a prolific Instagram stories poster. Anything and everything went on there. I had no boundaries. Which is something that I needed to address. It was kind of embarrassing. During that time, I was feeling so alone and isolated and detached from like any sense of community. The only way that I felt like I could cope with that is shouting into the void and hoping that I would get pity messages or likes or comments. It's kind of cringe looking back at that kind of behavior that I was doing, but that's on mental illness. Looking back at it, it does make my skin crawl that that's what my record of being online was largely. It wasn't everything, but there was a significant amount of it, and it's kind of gross to think about. I didn't feel like I was able to reach out to people that were in my social circles, in my spaces, in my real life communities, so I settled for that as like the next best thing. I don't think I realized it at the time, but I was definitely reliant on the attention that I got from strangers, and it feels really weird admitting to that because like, yeah, it's embarrassing. And there's nothing wrong with wanting attention, I don't think, because it is a natural human thing to do and to want. I just think I might have been going about it the wrong kind of way. Instead of making my mental health better, it was actually feeding into it because it was like a reward for it, because I'd do the thing and I'd get the attention, and that made me want to do it all the more. It's, yeah. Ugh, it makes my skin crawl just thinking about it. And in actuality, what was happening was I was only isolating myself further because I wasn't reaching out to people that I had like formed deep connections with and that kind of thing. I was looking for like surface level validation, I guess. And rather than feeling uplifted by people maybe I should have been reaching out to and seeking support from, I was settling for half-hearted double taps on a phone screen, which is kind of sad to think about, in all honesty. Around the time that I came off of socials, I also was starting a new job and I wanted a blank slate. So I stopped posting, I stopped having content online. I wanted like an air of mystery. Again, I feel like this is very attention-seeking behavior on my part. We're growing from it. But I really relished in being the new girl that kind of was a bit mysterious because she didn't have like a social media presence. Like people couldn't do effectively like a background check on me because there was nothing to do a background check on me for. My accounts were all private and I wasn't accepting new requests. But yeah, I low-key kind of relished in that. And again, I think that talks more about the mental state I was in around about that time. Even when people were able to find me online, I was like, well, you can follow me, but I don't really post on there. I don't really look at my messages, so I probably won't like accept your request anytime soon. I was real pretentious about it, and it's, again, I'm giving myself the ick. But that's Charlotte from like 2 years ago, and I've reflected and hopefully I've grown. I'm not gonna try and say that coming away from social media was easy because it really wasn't. It had its own sort of period of being really isolating, because people that I thought really cared about me and had an interest in like my life and my well-being kind of fell by the wayside when I stopped being presented under their nose by way of their phone screen. And that in itself was really difficult to sit with, because I'm like, I've got friends, I've got people that like care about me and that kind of thing. And then when I came away from having that support, I was like, oh, nobody's there. Not as many people as I thought were there, if that makes sense. I stopped finding out about people's life events because they didn't tell me personally. They would shout it out to social media, to the void. And because I wasn't consuming that content anymore, that meant that I didn't find out about stuff until it was like weeks past. And it's kind of weird to think about it, that like if somebody has like a big thing going on, like it goes on social media, how often are people messaging the people that are supposed to be really close to them directly about these like major life changes? It's kind of weird that we're quicker to like shout to the void, shout it to the world, to whoever's listening, than to be like, hey, you're an important person to me and this is what I've got going on in my life. I feel like you need to know. Like you shout it to the internet instead. It's kind of crazy, especially when it's like really big life stuff. I don't know, it's weird. I'm really trying not to be too bitter about that happening, because that is how life is for most people now. Like that's what we've become accustomed to. Like even my mum will be like, oh, did you see I posted about it on Facebook? And I'm like, but you didn't tell me. And you know I'm not online. You know that I'm not looking in those spaces. At this point, it's kind of crazy that I'm in more regular contact and know more about what's going on in somebody's life that is important to me, that is on the other side of the world, on another time zone, than I am somebody who literally is a 30-minute walk from me. Because my friend on the other side of the world knows that I'm not going to find out about stuff unless she tells me, and vice versa. So we check in regularly, whereas I've got some people who are geographically a lot closer to me that I've not had any contact with, or I don't know what's going on in their life because I'm not privy to the feed. It has made me reevaluate a lot of the relationships that I have and the relationships that I've got that I realised I was pouring more into. And that's not to say that relationships should be transactional, they're not, but they should be at the very least reciprocal. I've had to sit with the idea that there are people who were in my life that were more important to me than I was them, and that was kind of jarring to come to terms with, but it is what it is. It's life, and it might be a little nihilistic for me to say that I'm becoming accustomed to being disappointed, but on the flip side, since I've left socials, I definitely have got more of a sense of community, especially in a lot of the new relationships that I've made, because from the get-go my whole deal has been, I'm not on socials. If you need to tell me something, you need to reach out to me using like WhatsApp or Discord or something like that. And it's nice because it feels so much more intentional and less passive than a lot of how I was maintaining friendships before through those kind of online spaces. Now, you might be wondering, well, if you're so over being on social media, what are you doing posting to YouTube in this manner? I think more than anything, I'm over short form content. I am really enjoying engaging with content that feels more intentional and more thought out. And yeah, and I think my attention span's definitely got better since I stopped engaging with so much short form media, so that's a bonus. As well as being over short form content, I just have this desire to create. I'm a very creative person, and I'm still very creative in a lot of aspects of my life currently. I do crochet, I do like digital and traditional art, I write, I do poems, and I've gone to events where like I now share that stuff with people. Like I'll read writing that I've done at events, and that's pretty cool. I really like that. And I don't know, like I want to share stuff that I'm passionate about and stuff that I give a shit about. And I really miss making videos. It's something that I've ummed and ahed about stepping back into for a while. I was kind of worried that I'd come off as some kind of hypocrite coming back with my tail in between my legs, because I might have another moment where I'm like, don't perceive me, I don't want to be perceived, and that I don't want people to view the content that I've put out there for the fear of being cringe. But the more I've sat with it, if I'm enjoying what I'm doing and the work that I'm creating, I should feel proud of it. I shouldn't feel embarrassed, because I don't feel like that with any of the other things that I do creatively. I think it's more to do with me feeling vulnerable because I'm presenting myself to a camera, and that's not always clean and perfect and organised. I'm sat here today with a sunburn and a sty. We're not talking about it. If I'm going to be creating stuff that feels authentic to me, and yeah, maybe I am at risk of coming across as a bit of a hypocrite, being hypocritical, because I've unlisted everything that I've ever posted to this channel, but that might not be forever. And the more I sit with it, it might come back scary, I know. I think for me, I just really needed a little bit of breathing room to like take a step back, reevaluate the kind of stuff I wanted to be putting out into the world. Not everything that you make has to be good, and that's okay. And again, I don't put that kind of pressure on myself with literally anything else that I do creatively, so why should this be any different? I think a lot of the time when I was posting here before and I was doing like vlogs and other updates, like that kind of thing, I was trying to fit the mold of being an influencer. It makes me feel gross. I hate it. I was trying to produce stuff that I thought the algorithm wanted to see because I wanted it to be successful, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It doesn't feel right for me. The longer I've been away from doing this kind of stuff, I don't think that's what is important to me. And I think at the crux of it, that has been what's delayed me from having some kind of YouTube comeback, whatever you want to call it. Even that feels really cringe. There was this rhetoric at the time that I was last posting stuff, and it's probably still there, but I'm trying my best to ignore it, that like, if you wanted to be successful at doing YouTube, you had to treat it like it's your full-time job. And I'm sure that that is probably still the case. You have to post on a regular schedule, you need to maximize your SEO. But like, if that's not how I want to use it, why should I? I've got a full-time job and I've got hobbies that take up a lot of my time. One of those requires me to be away from my screen and out of my house 6 hours a week, which sounds insane, but it's probably one of the best things I've ever done. You know, I've got an active social life and I've got people that I want to spend time with in my community and all of that. I think for me, what it really boils down to is if you want to create art that is informed by life and like document that, you have to live it. You have to live your life, girl. I was getting myself really burnt out because I was doing like a 40-hour week at work, trying to juggle all of my hobbies, make and edit and create content on like a weekly basis, which is insane when you're also still trying to have like downtime and time to rest and recuperate and take it easy. Do things that are nourishing for your mind, your body, your soul. Ugh. I was basically just trying to juggle so much that I couldn't cope, and it made me not want to participate in it anymore. I'm setting out to remove that kind of pressure from myself going forwards. I don't want to churn out content for the sake of churning out content just because I feel like I should be on a weekly schedule, because something is telling me that I need to be on a weekly schedule to be successful. I don't want to churn out content for the sake of appeasing an algorithm. That feels so dystopian to me. Like when you say it like that, I'm appeasing the algorithm. Dystopian. Hate it. Because what used to happen when I would do that is I would produce a video where I was forcing myself to do stuff for the video so I had a video to post that week. Insane. And like, that's in place of me doing the stuff that I want to do. Not everything has to go online. Not everything you have to do has to be monetized, and that drives me crazy in a load of my hobbies anyway, especially with things like crochet, because everyone's like, oh, you should sell your stuff. I don't want the pressure of having a deadline. I want to sit and make myself a blanket because I want to make myself a blanket. I make stuff for my friends. I like giving crochet items that I've made as gifts. I don't need the pressure of somebody being like, I'm going to commission you to make me this thing, because it takes the fun out of it for me. And I think that's also what was happening when I was making videos before, because I wasn't even earning money on any of the videos. But because I had applied that pressure that was something that I had to do, it kind of was there in the back of my mind constantly. Like, you want to make this your job, you want this to be something that you're able to like earn some kind of income from, you have to treat it that way. I'm not interested in that anymore. I just want to make stuff. I want to film and record stuff when I want to film and record stuff. And, you know, that might look like me posting multiple times a week. Great, love that. But it also might look like me not posting anything for like months on end. And that's okay. I'm telling myself that that's okay. I've got this real thing about being very all or nothing with things that I'm interested in. And that's on ADHD and probably autism as well. I've had diagnoses for both of those things since we last checked in, so maybe I'll talk about that in the future if I want to. And me not posting for months at a time might be because I'm working on something that I really want to like craft and put a lot of love into, and not churn out for the sake of having it, or having it finished for the sake of having something to upload. I want it to be my baby. I want to treat it like any other hobby of mine. I want to work on stuff because I want to work on stuff, not because it needs to be finished for a deadline. That's not good for me. A common declaration that I'm seeing a lot online is how we miss the old internet. I do too. I miss how the internet used to be. You'd log on, laptop in bed. Laptop in bed doesn't really exist anymore. Well, it kind of feels like that for me. It's not a laptop, it's an iPad. Like, the closest that we have to laptop in bed now is iPad in bed, and it's still not the same thing. While we don't have much control over like how the algorithm works and how we're advertised to, we do have control of how we use those spaces. If we want to see more authenticity in the content that we consume, and I think that content is there, it's just harder to seek out. I don't want to influence anything. My prerogative now is that I want to create, and I want to do that on my terms. So going forward, don't know what the channel's gonna look like. I don't know what kind of content I'm going to be making, whether that's going to be vlogs, whether that's think pieces, hot takes, short films. I don't know. I'm leaving it up to whatever I want to do when I want to do it. And that feels very old YouTube. I'm not really sure that how things are going to look is that important, but I am kind of excited about it.